Yeah, I totally forgot about this. So one night I was on Reddit and I saw somebody talking about the studio I recorded at. And some guy was acting like he was a know-it-all and he doesn't know much about the industry, and he doesn't know how to work things. So I'm smart in that area because I had to do it all myself. So I'm the person that JD was looking to hire because he doesn't know how to pick people. Yeah, I had to do that. I had to learn how to do that. But so I saw him talk about this place, and he's all, "You wouldn't go there unless like you are signed." I go, "Wow, that's interesting. I wasn't signed." I was like, I know I love reading people that don't know what the hell's going on. Yes, it is. Okay, realistically, if you're not signed, it would be kind of idiotic to go and spend thousands and thousands of dollars at a top studio. This is where Justin Bieber recorded, and I guess a whole bunch of people that you guys know recorded at. But if you know how to work things, it was sort of accidental though too. But if you know how to work things, you don't pay that. You don't. Okay. So but I actually, it was a accidental stumble on because somebody was looking to do some side work, on top of their other work. And it was probably about the best choice as far as music goes, for these people. It was probably, it was just the beginning of a career that should have been going on still. But this isn't a thing where it's like God said I deserve to like suffer in a street and be targeted by a bunch of men that wanted to blackball me because behind the scenes I mentioned somebody touched me as a kid. So I think I brought up Justin Bieber because of the correlation. Like we have a very similar kind of intro to the industry where I am dealing with the older side of the industry that he doesn't probably know much about. But he's dealing with Diddy. So he's part of another group of men that were kind of talking about a story that goes back to the 92. Yeah, and it's pretty bad. And if that is the connection, the little guy that we've been talking about, he had a connection to Rick Rubin. Now, Rick Rubin was a big time user of this studio, which I just found out. Like I didn't even know anything because the way that they when I went in, you just go right into the studio. I don't recall running into anybody. It was almost like a secret door. I don't know. I don't remember much. I remember going and not running into a single human. And they probably have it set up that way anyway on purpose, like, just because people are doing their projects and you don't run in. I didn't run into anybody, but I was getting told some stories from there, when I was there, as you do at some of these studios. But I was also saying it wasn't my favorite studio, even though it was really expensive, because, and this could just be the fault of the people I'm dealing with because I didn't say something, but I had to record in a huge room, and I'm used to doing my vocals in a very tiny booth, which I that is my preference. I think that's a better thing. But it was a good studio. It was a nice studio. It's good for like the band, like the band itself. They probably have a vocal booth, but for some reason they set me up in the middle of this room. It was gigantic, and I had to stand there in the middle of the room, and I was like, this feels a little weird. I don't know. I need some comfort. I don't know. It's just a strange thing. No, but I was talking about that time period because the blackballing happened all around this thing. And then I was trying to go back into the history and I was trying to be reminded of what this development deal was and who brought it up and from what label, or if it was from a label or it was just from the people I'm dealing with and they were dangling it to maybe pass on to the labels that they were on or dealing with at the time. But this was weird because I was looking at it going, man, I must have everything screwy, like as far as the labels go, because for some reason in my mind I'm like Sony, and it's like actually Geffen. And then the thing that they did in the middle of this project was like a compilation of like a tank of other musicians, and then in the mix of that was Is it Rick Rubin's, I don't know, his label, like something weird was in the mix with all their stuff, and I was just like, that's weird. I wouldn't even have tied this all together just, at random, because, well, first we didn't identify who the person was at the time in 92, and nor would I have even attributed that to some rapper dude. Like, it wasn't together yet. And I don't think I've ran into Rick. The funny thing about Rick Rubin is he also looks like a bunch of guys that I ran across. So I'm just in there going, ah, can't tell you. I don't think so. So I don't know. The people that I dealt with, they probably have. I don't know. But anyways, the lawyer was trying to get me to be like, I just started out in 1999. And I was like, oh, that's not happening. I had already been dealing with the industry since basically, technically since 1991, because I met the celebrity camp like right away, like a little Justin Bieber. And so I think I have even though I'm laughing at some of the comments are pretty bad, have a similarity as far as like getting snatched up, but he's a white male. So they're not treated quite the same in the industry as they treat females, as they were treating females like somebody to collect and to try to have sex with. I mean, it was a different mentality right here. And they were looking for kids, obviously, from this other camp. But yeah, Diddy has all these young boys around him, and they're talking about that. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that's, the thing. And he normalized stuff. And when I started out, yeah, I was religious. So, like, there's this weird thing about it where it's like there is a similarity, but then it kind of tees off, because at some point in the middle of this, mostly at the earliest part, I started to branch away from the religion stuff. And I'm being honest, at no time was there anybody on their team even talking about Jesus, even though they're in the media going, whatever their bullshit is. No. You wouldn't even want to talk about that with these people. What I felt most close home to is that Michael Sweets, that side over there. I was like, because you knew that they were, but yeah, even that was, he's the only one that really like got to me though, like his comments, like he's so over the top. But beyond that, that's where that was. And then at a point when I was dealing with the other people from that group, yeah, when I branched off, I just felt like, oh, because they're in that part of the industry, they probably, I don't know. I took it a whole different way. They probably wouldn't have problems with me today. Now I'm a lot more outspoken today about the whole thing. He probably would debate. He would probably want to go into a debate with me or something like that. I have no idea, but I could talk about all the problems about it, because that was kind of the reason why we left. But when we're leaving, it's not because I'm looking at it, oh, the men are so indoctrinated and a total hot mess. It's like, oh, I'm looking at me and how they're treating me, and they're abusive, and then not really deep diving into the mental aspect of what it's doing to young men. And yeah, I mean, and they were all doing the same thing, I guess. Like, it's not even like they're separated from the conduct of any of these men that you guys are that we're talking about. No. And then they just kind of pawn it off as, oh, it's just normal behavior, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, you're only acting that way because of XYZ. It's not, oh, you're doing that because it's something separate from, the rest of that. But yeah, but then Justin becomes good friends with, I guess, Billie Eilish. Is that her name? No, I was laughing because I was reading her early story, and it was like so much like mine. And it was hilarious to read it though, because I was like, oh my God, I don't know. Because I don't know much about her. So I was reading it, and then, but at some point she came to a conclusion that she doesn't see any problem with something about the religions. I go, oh no, you are going to have a problem with it. If you really deep down understand like what the issues are, you should have a problem with it. if you're going to complain about misogyny or sex crimes or any type of thing like that, you should have a problem with it. It's actually coming out of that. It's kind of at the place where I was at in the mid part. Yeah, right at her age. Like I was probably about there where I was just kind of like, everybody, blah 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 blah. And then I could still like stomach, some other, religious stuff until I went into those things and was studying that. And then I was like, oh God, wait a minute. Yeah, and then the tail end of that thing was the people that were in tie with Allison Mack. And I was like, oh, luckily those people did. I was like, if those people came to me, I just long forgot. I just remember going to I don't know, I went to something for acting and I was questioning it. Was it that? It was so weird. I just remember going, what is this? And then people were talking and I just kind of hung around alone, as I normally do. The loner in the room. Yeah, because nobody else is in these industries. So I just, I'll pop up and then it's all uncomfortable and everything, So I was like, do you have food? Do you have any food up in here? Do you have any cheese? Do you have a cheese platter? Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I was kind of like, I don't remember. It was really strange. And then I left. I just remember sitting through this whole thing and they did some lecture and it was supposed to be for acting. And I was like, I don't know. I think they were trying to get all philosophical about it or something. I don't know. It was strange. I don't even remember it right now. Like I was thinking about what the hell this was and it was in Hollywood and it was at some place. Yeah, so I don't really know. I mean, I have some other critical things to say about the people I worked with, but it's like I don't want to even add any more to the story because it's already so bad. I mean, I've been blackballed so bad that it's like, you know, bringing up some inappropriate stuff, but then it's not so black and white. It's really strange. These stories are foul, and it's like, I don't even know how this even happened. Like, you just kind of look at the story as a whole, and then I don't know what was going on in the background with the labels. And all it would take in this story is one person in the story having a problem with me, and the labels will walk away. That's it. It's not even, they'll sit there and they will throw out money just because what's going to happen is if I get into a position of power like a Justin Bieber and I start talking, then all these people, then they're looking at money and we need to protect our house, and it becomes this thing, and it got really bad right here where everybody was attacking me, and I stand by the Blake story where, yeah, they did have groups of people. That definitely happened. That's hands down the truth of the story. And I was saying that they were in their earliest point, though, when they were going at me because internet was fairly new. And so they hadn't quite, got their teams to, like, do this bullshit online. But what they were doing is having their people and, just doing some crazy stuff and posting online. And it was just awful. It was so awful. And I was like, I've never been bullied this bad in my life, and I didn't even do anything wrong. This isn't a thing where I said something bad about somebody and did something horrible to somebody. It's something where it's like a literal crime, and that the parties should have actually reported that to the agencies. It shouldn't actually even be on top of me because I'm not the one that hired the guy. So the guy that hired him, who's the main celebrity, actually should have went and brought that to the authorities to take a look at, because that's his guy. It's like, if you look at it like a school, the school that is responsible for reporting any allegations like that on a child, and he's the entity that would be like a school, and they need to do that, and they didn't do that, and then it ends up in the public. It wasn't in the public at the beginning. It wasn't. We were trying to deal with it in private, and so then they decided to act an idiot and like a child and start making up stuff and saying weird stuff. But at no time would you ever conflict that with being a fangirl, because the comments were so vindictive of music industry business. such as bringing up Tommy Mottola. Like, you wouldn't bring up Tommy Mottola to some fangirl. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. Like, they don't know who, I mean, Tommy Mottola is, Tommy Mottola. And, and then things like, they would kick themselves if I got a hit song. You're not talking to a fangirl. At no time would you even confuse that, because those are the comments that were made. But why were those type of comments made to begin with? So it's telling you for certain that we had music business going on between us. Because why would you say it? Why would you say, I will be kicking myself if you have a hit song? Does not say that I'm leaving a structure of people, a group of people that have this high expectation from me and that they're letting me go or something. Like, I don't know. It's like this imaginary chain, which I've always called it. Because there's no, other thing in this. And that, why would they kick themselves if I had a hit song? Like, what would that have anything to do with somebody that allegedly doesn't have anything to do with me in the music side of business? So that was in the public. And so then what happened was their team decided to do a scrub-a-dub-dub. Not legally. And it's not me trying to hide anything. I never hid anything. They bring up the most atrocious stuff and I had to answer it, and I did. But the public was such a, that no matter how I answered, it was always okay to treat me like crap. Now, I tried to be sympathetic with Justin for a very long time, but, it's like, I can't enable that. He is a victim. He is a definite victim at a point. He definitely is. There's no doubt about it. And then with some other women that want to pass off their own conduct just like men, which we're seeing. And I was like, no, because if I did that, I would actually expect to be called out, and it's not going to be comfortable. And I'm not going to even try to defend it, and nobody should defend it. Nobody should. If I was doing things like that, nobody should defend it. So no, I'm just trying to validate, like, there's a legit problem with them. But legit, he's terrible. I was like, legit, he's terrible now. If you follow the story, like, I've been here for decades, like 2 decades, talking about every single human, going through them. They're all pissed. I've pissed off the entire universe more than a Marilyn Manson, okay? But every human in this thing is atrocious. And you're looking, like, you have to study the environment of, like, what they were in. And for me, I had a couple of these bad people around, but I wasn't involved in partying my ass off. And, I mean, we had that moment, when we're talking about the drug ring and we're trying to get out of this ring thing and all that, which is related to these guys too. Which was they try to cover that up. That's another group of people. That's what I'm saying. That whole thing is dark as hell. So those people are involved in that garbage over there. They try to cover up their crimes on me as a kid, which was help with the law enforcement. But in addition, I have this other group of people. But what I did was I separated. I didn't want anything to do with this party group of people. I don't want to go out. I don't want to associate with them. I just want to do business. And you can go through this industry by just doing your business. And, you do your typical, if you have to meet up somewhere, you can meet up somewhere, but you don't have to do this party crap. You don't have to go do those things. I had to get really serious about trying to get things organized and making sure everything, is proper before I go into a studio, because it costs a lot of money and it's coming out of my pocket, which it should have never have. And so I need to make sure that everything's on the up. And so Diddy's complaining. He was complaining about some bullshit like that. Okay, so it's just like that. I go, it sounds like me when I first started out and I had to try to figure this thing out, it was weird. And I still ran across people that, they claim they could do something and they can't. And then my fault is, not researching further enough, and then I got caught up in a bad deal, and then they wanted to hold my stuff hostage and I never got anything out of it. It was awful. That thing made me, like, I'm still on a hiatus because of that. And it's been about a decade. That experience was so bad to me, And it makes me so mad because I'm a smarter person than that. And the fact that these idiots come and do some crap, like just the whole thing about it, and then what happened after it in the public from other people in the industry, their conduct is atrocious, and that is coming from the side of the team that we're having problems with. So they started some other stuff. Um, Without getting into that, they were trying to run me over right there. And if you guys didn't notice, I was like, if you guys didn't notice that, like, what did I do in 2012? So in 2012, Bieber, I guess, is in the studio that I was at, and I was at a different place. And so because they held Sutton hostage and it was going to go legal, I had to go to another studio with another group of people, another guy. And then I had to go do something right away because I had some paying people that were backing it, and it was supposed to go into the other song. So when they did that thing, another group of people decided that they were going to try to run that over, I guess. I don't know. It's just the timing, maybe. I don't know. It's really bad. And so then the group of those people came over to all my videos and they trashed every single, it was really bad. So what it does is they know how the algorithm works and they know how to get people not to see you. And so there is a thing in the background. Yes, they know all of this because how do you think they get promotion for their own stuff, right? So they have a promotional, they do a thing. So they have to know how to do the market. They know the market. They know how to like do their outreach to get a lot of people to pay attention to them right before they drop something. And these people use that type of thing as a weapon to push me down. And it's a very calculated, dark, legal thing that these people did. And in addition, they promote their fan base to target their victims. And that is just, that shows you the level of bullying that's in the industry. And bullying is proper in this context because you're talking about people in a position of power that abuse their power on somebody else. It's not a thing of me saying, oh, Bieber's music sucks. I mean, that's not bullying. I mean, it's not nice, but you know, it's not, I can't do anything to him. But in the position of power, they can completely erase me. And so this has been their conduct the entire time. I mean, it's been pretty bad. And yeah, so they're like, oh yeah, the one speaking. Well, that's me. Of course, what is the guilty party going to be doing? They're not going to be out here, you know, outright, you know, trashing the hell out of me. They're going to pretend that they're ignoring it. But they're actually not ignoring it because that wouldn't have happened. They're doing conduct. And they never got in trouble, and everybody knows the truth. Like, everybody knows the truth. I mean, there's a universe that's going on here. We had friends, we had family, we had all kinds of people here. Everybody knows the truth. And so nobody's going to be spending thousands of dollars for recordings that are going to them for no reason at all. It isn't a thing. Nobody's this stupid. Unless you are a Nepo baby that's so desperate that you have no other avenue. I mean, it just isn't going to happen, you guys. It isn't a thing. And I wouldn't, like, the hindsight of it, I wouldn't have done those songs because, I mean, I'm going to be doing all those songs for thousands of dollars, you know, or, you know, whatever we're spending in this thing. For what? It's not like those songs were even relevant at the time. I was making them relevant. I was making them relevant. I still, to this day, like when I hear it, it's totally fine. Like you could hear it on the air right now and it's totally great. That's just because of the people we're working with, because they're professionals and they have a lot of experience and, they know the market. They are talented in that way, and it took a long time to find those people. Like, I mean, I'm just saying that that's really how this thing goes. It wasn't like, oh, their names are known everywhere and I got to get a Rick Rubin. It wasn't even that. It was like they were coming up, you know, and this thing and that thing, and you know, they had a lot of experience behind them to get to the point where they're at. And there's so many people in the industry that you've never heard of. Because, like, even if I mention their name right now, people will go, who, what? And they're very successful people. It's just so offensive that somebody's going to be trying to erase my history up in here. It's like I don't know what I'm talking about. That's just a disrespect on a gender, because they treat us stupid anyway. But it's like, who did the work here? Wasn't any man. Did any man pocket? I mean, who paid for it? It's me going to work. It's like, I don't know. But that millionaire fool didn't pay a damn dime. I don't know why. They didn't pay a dime to go for the meeting either. I go, really? That's a flag in this whole thing. Because it wasn't even a Diddy thing where I'm going to pay you out on a flight, to sugarcoat that even more. Like, we didn't even get that much. I mean, it was pretty cheap ass up in here. So, and they were dying. Their relevancy was dying at the time I stepped in, but it didn't matter because it's not about them at the time. It was about me, a fresh new face, right? That's how the business was going. And so the only thing that I paid attention to was what the trend, I paid attention to the trends. I wasn't exactly trying to do the trends, but there was like things that I liked that was coming out. And I was like, and so then you can kind of tell like where the next move was going to go. And I was like, yeah, so basically in this arena of things I wanted to do. So we didn't get stuck in like 1980s heavy metal. I mean, it was, dying as it has been. Yeah. And then as the change of the industry, it was like alternative, but also in the industry was a bunch of rap. And now that's not my, forte, but, apparently that whole thing was taking over the industry. And then you see here, we have a bunch of gangbangers up in here taking over and doing a bunch of crazy stuff. And that adds to the organized crime that has been going on inside the entire industry. It just makes, it was probably always organized crime. Because, what was I reading? Cash King was the first of its time, was at its time the largest market on the West Coast. The market survived the Depression years under 1942 when it was converted into Madame Zucca's Hollywood Casino. Madame Zucca's entertained World War II soldiers as its wild burlesque shows and not so legal gambling. Over the next couple years, the name was changed to the Cotton Club and then again to French casinos, an attempt to get around the new liquor and gambling laws. By the 1950s, the casinos had closed and the building was converted into a radio broadcast center, which was first called West Coast Productions, and the main stage where Studio One stands today, and produced hit radio shows like Tennessee Ernie Ford Show. And in 1954, the name was changed to the Radio Center Theater. 1957, Don Blake acquired the building and they renamed it Western Recorders. Blake would go on to sell Western Recorders to engineer named Bill Putnam, Frank Sinatra's personal engineer, who kept the name and then started the process of transforming the space into a recording studio that we know today, right? So this is the history of that. But it sounds like there was always organized crime involved in all this stuff. And I think that's just the thing. I think people just like, I don't know if they find a coolness with it. There's nothing cool about it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sounds like it to me. Sounds like it to me. Illegal gambling. Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff in it. I saw some really bad stuff. Not at that studio, but at a different one that was almost as expensive. It certainly wasn't as nice, but they were doing certain things for payment that should not even have went on. It's called Cash is King Grocery Market. Cash is King. Oh my God. 1933. Yeah, my parents weren't even born yet. Like, that's crazy. Basically, that's what I was touching on, but it was more about men erasing our history, and they're chronically crying about, their fear of their history being erased, and it was actually them erasing our history. And then Dr. Dre did it. The Compton guys did it to all the women in the industry, totally ignored that they even exist, beat them up, did all these things. And somehow we're supposed to be like, hey, but they brought us some cool music, so that's okay. It's like, no. And you see what everybody's okay with, right? Because they're still palling around, doing all this crap, trying to ignore it, trying to push it aside. And, we got to move that aside. Because women don't matter, right? So they're easily, we could just throw them off the table. And what they did, and to take what Bieber said and then start going in on God, and this must have happened for a reason. It did, but it has nothing to do with God. It has to do with a bunch of jerk-off men that are criminals. And so they came in and they destroyed women's careers and they tried to erase them. They raped them. They did all kinds of things. Mostly if you go through the Red Hot Chili Pepper stories, their conduct was pretty common. I mean, going up into, places and just touching women. I mean, just doing all kinds of crap. And the studios would just be like, these labels would just be kind of like, well, you got to put up with it because there are top, sellers up in here. So, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, how disgusting is this? Like, women are just disposable. You could just do whatever you want to. And you wonder why these guys are such piles of what. And they chronically, like, anytime I bring it up, they start flipping out and then they become violent. I mean, or they, try to target the hell out of me. And it's like, did I do this? Am I the guilty party? If I'm the guilty party, I would deserve some hate, But I'm not the guilty party. We're just the messenger, But yeah, they will promote, target hate crimes, and they're really anti-censorship, even though those are the guys that are like, oh, we're for, no censorship. Let me just throw my, what, all up in your face, ladies, and let me sing about, doing all kinds of crap to your children. Free speech, free speech. Oh, what? She's talking? Oh no, mute her down. That's them. They're a bunch of lying, fake hypocrites is really the truth of them. I go, isn't it funny? If I just mimic them, I get targeted up the butt. But at any point, I mean, I don't want to mimic them to the point where I'm committing a crime. But if you're like, just even remotely doing anything similar to that, they all of a sudden turn into the biggest hypocrite you've ever seen. Otherwise, they'd be palling with me, right? Wouldn't they be like, hey, you're like us? Yeah. Because I ain't kissing their butt. It's not going to happen. So if they're being atrocious monsters, we're going to say, and, or bring up the allegations that were brought up. There's still a tank of them that they want to cover up. A tank of them. And it's just, eventually, your time's going to be up. And, there's a lot of male victims up in here too. Yeah, I'd say one of the early ones was the one when they brought up Janie Lane. I go, well, regardless of how bad he was, he's probably so bad because every man's bad. But, no, like I said, I didn't hear about that, and it's interesting. And, okay, if that was true, the story, then what would be true is that the same people would have harmed a bunch of other people. It wouldn't just be this one-off thing that they did that to just him. And so what it means is that a lot of men are just acting about, like they're fine with it. It's not even, on a lot of these stories, it's not even like, oh, I'm so traumatized that I couldn't talk about it. Like, he obviously was traumatized to bring it up. But in some of these stories, it's like, what? I was totally down with it, and I do that to everybody else. So why would I come out and say I'm a victim, Because I'm actually a perpetrator. Yeah, I mean, there's those guys. So there's quite a mix of jerks up in here. And some that think that because you have a drink with somebody, all of a sudden, like, I don't know, but in their mind, they think it's totally fine, and it never was. And you wouldn't agree to certain things if those things were not at play. And I find it to be disturbing that anybody would get somebody drunk and have an emotional breakdown, and the first thing that some guy does is try to get up all on you. Like there's something psychologically wrong with that person. That's the depths of the mental health issues with these guys up here. Yeah. I was like, yeah, it just, I mean, we could say a lot. There's a lot of conduct up in here. But some of the enablers and the protectors in the story is a lot of females, and uh, they need to be called out. Like, I'm trying to call them out, but playing the game of, well, I'm a victim and that's why, blah, blah, blah is bullshit. Because the conduct that was happening to me was so downright evil. I don't give a crap what happened to you, because your conduct on other people is no excuse for that. I mean, it legitimately is not. Like, I'm not out there trying to, like, harm some woman's career and then target the hell out of some woman, because so and so is my family friend, or whatever, the scenario is. But and who is this crazy person that jumped in on the Diddy thing? I mean, in the courthouse, get some self-respect. Like, I don't know if they were trying to be, it sounded like they were trying to be pro Diddy than it was. Let me see something. Well, Jamie Foxx now is trying to separate himself, even though he said he had more wild parties than Diddy. And okay, so yeah, he was trying to pay off people 100K to suppress the assault video. What did I ask for, you guys, from the public before they muted me? This is the craziest story, and nobody got paid off, to my knowledge. But if they did, they should get arrested. What happened was, on this one evening, I was on Twitter, right? And this is when the Depp case is going on, right? So they're all in tie, right? They're totally all in tie. They're evil as hell. And it makes Diddy, I mean, it makes Depp look bad because he's in tie with the party that I'm going at, right? And they were in the middle of I think this is when they were in the middle of the divorce thing, the first thing, not the second horrible thing that happened, which was totally set up, but the first thing. So I was telling people, I go, oh yeah, man, that team is like, oh, like this, and they're the spin, I was like going on the thing of how they operate, and like nobody knows about this, right? Because they're not a victim to them. So I was like, oh, you guys don't know the team in the background. Like, I had been talking about that for like, at least at that point, like 15 years or so. And then, so one of the things that popped up, I was like, oh, I found a video of the night that I was at the club, that they brought me to the club. And, but not of the night that I was at the club, but it was at one of their shows. They did the show, the setup, this like whole setup with Elton John's dude over there. And I was like, oh, somebody got a video. Somebody got a video somewhere, because there's celebrities all up in the house, right? So I was like, yeah, let me seek it from the public, because somebody got it. The band probably has it. The bands, when they're doing their shows, more times than not have somebody taping it. They just keep their history, on record. And I did that too, but then the girl ran off with my video, so I don't have it. And please God, don't. I was like, please don't pop up anywhere without me seeing that first. Okay, but so I was thinking about it this one night, and I go, oh, you know what? I could just ask the public if they have any video footage of the night, just of the night, because we may be able to pull something out of it. So I didn't give a date of which night it was. I didn't give some specifics, right? I just gave a general, thing about it, because if you were there, you would totally know what I'm talking about. So I threw it out there. I said, hey, if anybody in the public has a video of the night at this one club, can you please bring it forward? And that's all I said. Legitimately, you guys, this is all I said. And I took a screenshot, I believe, of that too, just to show. And I told the media, I go, media, honest to God, this is it. And I click off my page, and I went to go try to sign in again, and they locked me out. And then at that point, they go and erase my entire account. And I go, wow, I actually didn't break any rules. None whatsoever, you guys. This is like, honest to God, on my great grandmother's grave. And what I was asking for is a video, and the video is incriminating. And there's conduct that was from their camp on me against my will. Somewhere. Somebody's got to have this. And if they don't have that portion, you know, what can I say about it? But that's what I'm seeking, right? So, you know, that's why this would happen, right? So their team is not paying anybody off. Their team is having the giants of social media remove me out of the picture. That's what they're doing. And I'm like, that is the most insane thing that just happened right here in the middle of this divorce thingy going on. And so I was trying to speak out, and this is at a time that Eline's with, you know, I don't know, he's buddy with Amber. So it's like, yeah, I mean, that's just the honest to God truth. And you should have seen that when he get the website. That's what happened on that account originally. I said, on the night here, blah, blah, if you have any videos, give it, blah, blah, blah. So this war starts between me and the platform. Of course, you're going to get pissed. So I start sending them messages. I'm like, you need to give me my account back, because they kept asking for my phone number and all crazy stuff. And then they started just making stuff up at a point. It just went back and forth. And then now it's like, oh no, you can't censor me from saying that. So I legally can say somebody did something, and then if I could show it, which I did on one thing, which actually I showed something before I even knew another thing about it. And then I was bringing it up. Oh, do you know that's a cop? I was like, do you know that's a cop? I didn't know it was a cop. I was like, you know, it's a cop that sent me that bullshit. Yeah, and then they started going after my work because they shouldn't have went after my work ever, but the cop is the one that reached out to me through my work. And then, they were doing, some filthy back here. So I was trying to explain this to everybody, because this is, nothing was made up, and I tell the media does nothing. And then all these news stories come up, and they're telling you, and then they're trying to make it seem like it's none of those things, and attacking the victim really badly. I go, you have to know how to go at those people, because they are very tricky. They're tricky. And they're kings of manipulation. But at the same time, even as you're getting manipulated by the bullshit, if you just sat down and sat back and just went through the story on your own, you would see the manipulation. Like, you actually cared about women and that somebody's lying up in here, you could see it right away. Because somebody was making comments that they couldn't make while being intoxicated. There was a number of things. So I was like, yeah, if you have a brain, you know, with an average IQ, you should be able to figure that out. But it was like being king over just make up something, and then if they believe it, that's all we care about. And so people don't spend the time to look over what they're saying. But also they have a bias where they just generally hate women. So it just adds into the whole bullshit. And I was like, yeah, that's a pretty dark, evil camp. I go, that is definitely the darkest camp that I know. Somebody's going to say Diddy, but the operation of this group of guys, we've seen it in the media. You guys saw it. And I'd say that was the darkest thing I ever seen from them. But my story would have ended up somewhat like that if it probably went into the media that bad. However, I wouldn't have let it spin out of control like that, because that's kind of what was happening. And so I was trying to unspin it, and every time I went to go unspin the story, I would go into the forums. I was trying to unspin the story, and they were just calling me a crazy person. And then they were just saying, like, they were just brushing it off like it's not a real thing or something, even though the camp is talking with me and they made these certain comments. So it's like a purposeful, like, denial of the truth, because they just hate women and they're a fan and they wish they get backstage passes or something, to purposely ignore that. So I was up in here trying to unspin it because they were spinning it out of control and saying things like, that's my boyfriend, or some weird crap. And then to let them know what actually happened and why we're, raising an alarm. And no, I'm not a crazy person. And no, I've never even been dubbed that I have a mental health issue, that I'm so nuts I'm making shit up. And we literally showed you decades of passes, which I gave to random people. If you knew me, you got lucky. And so these things are totally validated. And I'll be damned that I deal with some Christian lunatics trying to act like it's all fake or something. And I somehow promote it like I did something to deserve to get my cars trashed or something. If something is fake, why would anybody go out of control like that and go target my vehicles, right? Or send death threats or beat me up threats or any kind of thing like that, because it just mean that, I'm a nobody. Like, why would you care about some crazy person saying something, But that's not what happened. We were pretty civil amongst each other in the conversations in the early portions of this war. They were allowed to come into my forum. As I've stated, I created my own forum because I actually believe in free speech, unlike them. And I said, you could take your sorry ass and come in here and you could go talk it out, And so they were invited, and then a couple of their people came in, and then they basically tried to destroy the platform amongst each other, fighting about stupid crap that has nothing to do with my stuff at all. And I was like, that should tell you the level of these people. It had nothing to do with me, and nor did I start dragging dead people's kids, like their dead kids, around like they did. And I'm just sitting back going, I cannot believe my life. Like, I can't believe I dealt with people this crappy. Like, they're just shitty people, you guys. Like, really bad. With no moral line. They don't care about women getting raped or touched or anything like that. And it turns into a bullshit story, I said, about who discovered who in 1969. And the Moody Blues. And I'm just like, did you really come into my place and start bringing up this bullshit that I can't even debate that story because I'm not even alive yet. I don't know anything. And they're having a major war with this other guy about some bullshit at the psychedelic supermarket. Some bullshit I never even heard of in the 60s in San Francisco or something. And the fight turns into dragging the guy's dead son, and I'm like, as much as I'm for free speech, this is beyond. Like, this is beyond. Like, beyond. But the thing is, like, I can't be a hypocrite about it. It's like, either I'm okay with it and I sit with it, or I just take down the forum. And the only reason why I took down the forum is because for my own mental health issues, trying to deal with being a child victim, that level was affecting me in on my personal level over here. And so I was like, yeah, I mean, I can't just sit there and mute somebody and then sit there and be like, it's a free speech forum. I was like, maybe the best thing for me right now, just for me right now, because I'm running it, is to just shut it down. And eventually I did just shut it down. Today I probably would just let it run. But at that time it was too much. Like, it's like a discovery. It's like, oh my God, the guy's literally acting like, I don't know, like a whole different thing happened. It was really weird. And I was trying to take that in. And, you're trying to go, is he purposely lying to the public, or is he that off kilter that his brain is somewhere else? I have no idea, at the time when we were going through it. But none of the other people knew the story. They don't know me. They don't know any private things between us. And I just love when people jump in and they act like They do. And we're not a public figure, so there's nothing to follow in the media to know like how we met or anything like that. It's not like these stories that we go through and it's like, oh, we see, back in, 1999, such and such did this and that, and we can kind of go through a story. No. So basically they have no background on me, nothing. They don't know how we met. They don't know what I did in the industry. They don't know like nothing. And they jumped in and tried to pretend like they did. I love that one. I was like, I wouldn't even go on like that because I don't know what happened there. And, I can't say on some of these stories, like, what the heck happened there. I can't talk about Diddy and some private parties because I wasn't there. It's like me coming in right now going, that never happened. Because I'm a fan of Diddy. That never happened. It's like, I mean, how the hell am I supposed to know that, right? Was I there? No. I don't know anything. I believe all the stories coming out, though. But I can't speak on it. But these people were coming in speaking on behalf of those people, saying none of this ever happened. Like they're gaslighting, but they're not even part of the story and they weren't even present. I could like legitimately tell you they were not even present. I just think it's so odd that somebody would even try to jump in on the story now as they're old as hell. They're not even relevant. Like literally I go through the media every day and I'm lucky that I don't have to see that name all the time as I used to. It only gets brought up when, Depp is doing some bullshit, with them. And it's just like the industry purposely did that, though. It was a vindictive move from somebody in the background at the Grammys. If we look deeper into the evil of that, it's not going to be good. So those are the people that are in the protected house that target victims. And I can tell you some of the people I reached out to prior to the Grammy incident. And it may be those if it has anything to do with any person in that organization, it needs to be shut down. The fact that I alerted them, considering they're supposed to be standing up for victims, they didn't take any action. So, yeah, I mean, there's those things going on, yeah. And I don't care if somebody's friends with the model or any other famous person. They need to stay out of my stuff. And they have nothing to do with it. And they shouldn't be defending things they know nothing about. That's just the truth of it. They don't know anything. Have we ever met? No. So you should just shut up and stop defending people that you don't know what they did. And they are faking it up in here. And I keep saying they're a bunch of frauds. They are. They're just fake. They're evil. They're evil. They're such the most evil people. Like I say, the hindsight in it, I regret ever contacting these people as a kid. It's just one of those things you can't take back. They ruined my whole life trajectory. That has nothing to do with God. Like God's punishing me. Shut the hell up, Justin. So yeah, that's the part that is just like, no, religion is a problem. Like, don't even put that, like, it must have happened for a reason, or the whole thing of karma. Because I was like, really, if we look at the karma aspect on this, knock on wood, but I'm not the one that checked out. Like, that's some dark stuff. But we weren't even wanting that to happen because I was alerting the camp that somebody was off kilter. And again, I think that they should be legally liable for ignoring that information because even at the same time, the perpetrator, I was like, you guys, something. And so instead of paying attention to the person being mentally off kilter, they were targeting me and calling me that. And I go, well, where did you see me ever attempt to do that? And where did you see me ever end up in a hospital or ever see any conduct like that from me? Never. That never happened. I've openly talked about, bad things happening and then, your emotions on it. But I've never had that whole problem. And so I was talking about it and I go, that affects a kid when you're around a kid for a long time and you're chronically talking about offing yourself. And like the whole time they were doing that, but it was a common comment, and a lot of us have made off kilter comments like that too, but in reality, there was a difference in the story where this person legitimately had psychological problems, and then he said he had a gun. And I'm like, why does this dude even have a gun? I'm not going to his house ever because there was already that incident. But I was like, the dude has a gun. This guy's off kilter. I'm not going to his house. That's insane. So I don't know I don't know any further thing from it. It was just like, I actually got that much information out of them before these incidents happened. But, I sure as hell wouldn't have been in a Diddy house. Know that dude be having guns. That would have been like the number one thing. I'm like, oh, gangbanger. We're not going over there. No, thank you. I don't care who the hell you guys say he is. I don't care that you guys are all worshiping the ground he walks on. The dude's gonna have massive guns, drugs, violence, everything. We're not going over there. I don't want any part of that universe. I already know that universe from 1992, right? So I was like, yeah, I don't know how close Diddy was in the initial story to that thing, but if Jamie Foxx was running around with them at that time, then I assume he was out here or something weird about that. I don't know much about that portion right there on his side back then, because that's when Suge and all them, I guess, got along, and they were just coming up in here to try to take over and harm everybody. Something to do with that. And Vanilla Ice is thankful that he got threatened over a balcony. He didn't get dangled on the balcony. He got threatened while he was on the balcony. That something about, oh, look, it's a long way down. But yeah, apparently he's thankful that happened because, their music got heard. I was like, that is the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, that had to happen in order for any of that. No. So, I mean, I had the early end of their conduct. Luckily not threatened over a balcony, but there was, whew, I didn't even know if I was going to live. Like, it was, when I got left in the middle of the road and they broke down my car, oh, God, I was freaking out like a car was gonna come and like smash into me, and it was rolling back and like nobody would help me, and the perpetrator is having this flip out, and I'm like, I don't even know what to do. Like, I'm a kid, I'm in the middle of the road, and nobody cares who the hell this person is, this other person, which is connected to those other people. And yeah, there was just like crazy incidents like that. Just these weird things where it's like you feel like you're gonna die because you're in a dangerous situation. Yeah, a car could have came and smacked us. If you guys know the sunset when it curves, yeah, they left my car like that and then walked away. And it was rolling back. I don't know what they did. Because they kept stealing my car. And oh, there's so much in this, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I just remember just chronically being in this state of, how do I get out of this? And then I'm trying to escape, and then they kidnap me here so I can't leave. And we're in this situation now, right? And it's this chronic thing where the county wants to hold me against my will, and that's a good example of that happening right there. And the people that they allowed to be on me was part of this group of people, this ring of people, and they didn't get in trouble for what they should have gotten in trouble for, and they're getting outed for additional, they're getting in trouble for this other stuff. But again, I don't know if Diddy's even in this thing, because yeah, who would know who he was at the time other than Jamie Foxx? But I mean, I don't know who he was. I didn't know who he was. He may not have been in the area at that very moment, but he was coming in at some point. Nope, we have no direct contact with them. The direct contact has to do with Michael Jackson's friends right there. So they were all a bunch of crackheads, and he ends up being an addict himself. And so it was like these questions that, I would feel like the family would have wanted to know, but maybe they already all know, and they want to keep, information on the low, because it's kind of like, how would you not know that? I mean, come on. Um, but it wasn't a topic in the media in the early portions, but at no time should an addict have children around them. So you're supposed to have your children taken away if the parent is an addict. So these kids were in a situation where Michael was an addict, and I found it a little weird that what's his name, Carter, didn't point that out, because Aaron Carter was an addict as well, and he would know that somebody was not just sleepwalking, somebody is more than likely drugged out. And he's a child, and he's dealing with an adult that's an addict, coming up half naked up to his bed as a teen. But he doesn't bring this up until, way the hell later. But we were talking about the background of him as to why that would be. It's unfortunate, but that's the thing about it. But that's the thing, where they just kind of like, yeah, I'm not going to bring that up. I don't want to get him in trouble. It's not that big a deal. Blah, 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 blah. But then he tells us that was really annoying, and it frustrated me, and it pissed me off, and blah, blah, blah. But it's not sexual, he's a really good guy. It's like, no. But he doesn't bring up he thinks that he was on drugs. He's like, he seemed like he was sleepwalking. It's like, we all know that Michael had to take drugs to go to bed. So, more than likely, you've seen him drugged out, is what you saw. But both of them are not here, so what it was saying is that Michael should have never had children around him because he was a drug addict. And the fans are having a hard time with that. It's like, yeah, children should have never been around with him because he was an addict. Just by that alone. His conduct's going to be not proper, and then his actions are going to be not proper. He's not functioning as a sane human being. And then we were talking about his childhood. So it wasn't like, oh, he's just the only monster in the room. It's like, oh, well, he was once a child. And when he was a child, this religious family abused the crap out of him. And no, I didn't even tell off on this other thing. The child abuse didn't need to happen in order for him to be a talented person. Just the action of practicing every day and doing your typical thing that most kids would do would have led down the same road, and a healthier road than what happened there. The additional abuse on it made it where he became a hot mess. The action of chronically going through, being an entertainer is the thing that got him hardwired to just, be able to do whatever, and he was so used to doing that. But no, the abuse didn't need to happen. There was people saying, oh, well, if that didn't happen, then this wouldn't have happened. That's absolutely false. I just want to put that out there. That's categorically false. The abuse did not need to occur for him to be a famous entertainer, or a good entertainer. So that is the dark of these stories. I would say that's probably the same even with the child actors. It's just the wrong guidance in it. I don't know. I'm not really for it, but could somebody come out okay from doing it? I'm sure they can. It's just the way that they're being raised with that going on. Yeah, where they just let them run free, and they're so used to getting anything they want, and just all kinds of stuff. People giving them passes because they're famous. Like, the public also aids in that conduct right there too. Like, who the hell is giving the 15-year-old drugs, right? Like, those people right away should have been arrested. I mean, they overlooked some of the conduct that should have been even more of a crime than it was. Like, they would look at the kids as the criminal. But the truth is, no adult should be giving children drugs. I mean, you can't give them drinks. You're not supposed to be giving them drinks, but you sure as hell shouldn't be giving them drugs. It's one thing if the adult's doing it. They're a hot mess. But it's another for them to give a child that. That's a addition to what was going on there. But they didn't view the kids as a victim. They viewed the kids as terrible teens. And so now that makes up Gen X. And they're atrocious monsters, right? There was so much in it. I was like, yeah, we could sit here for days just like going, oh, you remember this? And this was totally normal and the way they treated it. And then now you're a hot mess. I could point you out. I was like, I could point you out. And then somehow I became a way better person than the very beginning of this whole thing, in my opinion. I don't have this like criminal history of like, thieving and stealing cars and, doing that. In fact, it's just been the opposite of those people doing stuff to me. And then it's like, I'm paying for it. And so if that's your God, that God can go kiss my ass. Like that's where that thing went south with the Bieber thing. But we can go on and on and on about that. But I'm gonna end. I just wanted to throw that out there because I did mention his name just to say I dangled his name because I was going through the history thing and I was kind of curious. It was interesting because he was saying he wanted to protect Billy. I think it was Billy. And when I was reading her story, I was saying, oh, she's so much like me. It's weird. Like, there was a thing about her when she came out, and I was like, oh, she reminds me of me. Like, it's weird. And then the initial part of her story in this thing was like, her thinking was just like mine. And I was like, that's interesting. And then, but she landed at the point where I landed at her age. And then I was like, oh, just give it time. And then she'll finally say, oh, yeah, now I see a problem with it. Just give her time. I just give her time because it was like as you get more information. And then she has to see it because she has to see the conduct of so and so, and then I just think people don't know what to attribute it to, and that's probably why. That he wants to. Well, he doesn't need to be the protector. It's not like we're so like weak and you can't protect ourselves. It's just that when you're a kid, you can't. Like, I didn't have anybody in here, like, keeping these guys off me, or anything like that. But, like, today, it's always me protecting the guys. Because the guys are such, you know what? They're just a bunch of talk. And they're just barely coming out saying stuff. I go, how come the women were the strong ones saying stuff and you guys didn't say anything the entire time? I think you guys have things a little bit backwards. Yeah, I think so.